Everyone, welcome back to another Paranormal Custom Magic Set stream. Today we are planning to work on green-white. It's an archetype that we haven't really done much with so far, and we're trying to figure out what exactly we want to do with it. Sorry, my mic was a little far away from me. So we're working on that. We're working on revising our green commons so they fit with our current revised archetypes. And we had some suggestions from Cyber5 in the Discord, so I'm just going to get right into that. So, Cyber5 suggested a pump spell. So, let's take a look at what pump spells we have in green so far. Yes, this one, which we decided that we weren't super interested in. It does kind of work well with the Go Wide theme. It lets you... it's actually kind of like a common version of Defend the Celestis. Sort of lets you divide 3 power and toughness in increments of 1, however you want. So, not bad. But if we don't go... with a Go Wide theme, it's less good. It does work, but I feel like it might be flagged for complexity at common too. Potentially. Yeah, that could be the case. I know that they've done it at common before, although it was in green-white. In Return to Ravnica is when I think it was. But, yeah. It is sort of like a bit confusing the first time you see the card. You know, you have to pick 3 targets. So, I'm not attached to this card. I'm completely fine replacing it. So, let us put in your suggestion, which is target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. If that creature is attacking, untap it. And instead of Acorns of Strength, it's Monstrous Rampage. So, yeah, it seems fine. 3/3 and Trample for 3 is a fine spell. I know they've done that a couple times. Just tacking on if it's attacking, untap it, like, totally something green can do. I feel like this is a good reward for the raid archetype too. That's a good point. It's a bonus specifically for attacking. Hello, Mechmoose. How are you doing today? Yeah, I also like the flavor of just throwing this onto an undercover dude. You know, it's undercover, it's acting like a normal dude, and then it goes on a monstrous rampage. And everybody's like, oh man, who was that guy? And now he's back to a 2/2. He's going, I got no idea, dude. Hey, Mars, how you doing? Oh, Moose, glad to hear that you're getting to relax a little, and that you're choosing to spend that time with us. Okay. So we added Urban Utopia for a Case Files card. And Cyber5 suggested a tweak on it that maybe makes it a little better. Which is just turning it into a normal 3-drop enchantment. Those tend to have a small upside, in addition to making the land tap for 1 more mana. So in this case, when card name ETB, create a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token. So, Yeah, I mean, this still goes with the land that can untap itself. And it does something that fits with the rest of the set. Basically New Horizons, but with a creature, yep, instead of a 1/1 counter. Yep, or the... there's one that gains 3 life instead, you know. Just another basic one of those cards. So it seems like a perfectly fine design. And yes, it works with either way, Go Wide or Colorless Matters. Can't wait to design the white-green burn archetype. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target player. I'm not sure that's a spell they've done. Don't joke about that. I think it's surprisingly feasible. I've missed the past couple streams. Have we settled on a white-green archetype yet? Not yet. That is what we are focused on tonight. So, basically, it's between just a generic go-wide theme, which might be good because we already have 1/1 constructs. We have creatures that come in as 2/2s for 3 and then come back later, so like you can keep your board full. And it doesn't require that much more effort. You know, it's just generic. We don't have to make a bunch of cards that care about a specific thing. Or Colorless Matters, which is cool, interesting, different, but harder to design. It does work as well with Undercover and our 1/1 construct, so both of the archetypes do. It does require a lot more work to make it good, though. So they both have their ups and downs. I'm not sure how you do white-green burn in Pi. You could maybe do white-green, like, tempo? Using efficient white spells to, like, remove creatures and then just get in with your big efficient green beaters. Remember, white has X damage burn spells based on creatures now. Yeah, but have any of those hit a player? Boros Reckoner plus trample spells. Okay. Also should rename the ramp spell. Oh, yes. Thank you. Redevelopment. There we go. Okay, so that makes this no longer a reprint. It does help the set's archetypes a little bit now. Okay, yeah, so Moose, you were asking what happened during the second half of the last stream. I honestly have trouble kind of separating them in my mind. I believe we finished up the red commons, and actually maybe finishing up the red commons was the last half of the stream. Not that you would advocate for actually doing green-white burn. I don't know how you would honestly do that. I mean, there's a little bit with the Boros Reckoner thing, but has the Boros Reckoner effect ever been in mono-white? It's been in hybrid red-white a couple times. But that makes it iffy on if mono-white is really supposed to do it. We also did tangents, don't forget. We always do tangents. Yeah, there's one in this set in mono red, in Crimson Vow, rather. White has had some redirect damage instance. That's a good point. Can stuff like Harm's Way direct to a player? It can. Boros Reckoner effect has never been in mono white, but Reckoner's existence as a post-Shadowmoor hybrid makes me believe it could be. Okay. I even post Shadowmoor, when they learned their hybrid lesson, they've still definitely bent the pie to make hybrid designs work. So I don't necessarily think that Reckoner is a good indication that it could be in mono white. Harm's Way, though, and Channel Harm. Oh, only hits creatures. This is entirely theoretical. I am also not endorsing Celestial Bird. Okay, that's cool. An interesting philosophical question, to be sure. Though they also don't really do damage prevention that much anymore, too. That is true. I remember when I first started playing, Harm's Way was one of my favorite cards. I got this Dragons versus Knights dual deck. I got the Knights deck, and my friend got the Dragons one, and we played. And this card was just so much fun. It was like, oh, you think you're going to kill my creature? No, I'm going to kill yours. I think it was actually pretty good and limited, too. I could be wrong. Yeah, I agree, Mech Moose. It's like they have a bunch of damage can't be prevented, but there's nothing that prevents damage anyway. So I guess those cards have effects in older formats. But I agree. It's been odd. I noticed that as well. Comeuppance. I remember that one. That was in the Nahiri Commander deck. 4 mana instant, prevent all damage that will be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from creatures is prevented this way, it deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature is prevented this way, it deals that much damage to the source's controller. Right. That is really cool. So just like, it's a fog that turns all the damage back on the source it's coming from. Yeah, regeneration hosing was weird. It's like, let's give creatures a mechanic that lets them not die to kill spells. But then let's make most of our kill spells go through indestructible, or regenerate. At that point, I feel like you've made a couple mechanics too many. You have used Forest Reckoner in mono white once. Okay, seems like it's still partially red. Let's see. So 2 and a white for a Nahiri with 3 loyalty. This card is red. Up to 1 target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. -2, she deals 4 damage to target tapped creature. Or -3 until your next turn. Whenever a creature or planeswalker you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. Okay, so you made her like hybrid red-white. She only actually costs white, but all of her effects are also red. So it's like a hybrid design that you just don't have the option to pay red for. I know Cyber 5. I love Turbo Fog because I'm a bad person. And so I was looking at Midnight Hunt, and I was like, there's multiple card draw enchantment engines in this set. So that's always a good thing for a fog deck. So I was like, okay, let's go see if we can build some Turbo Fog. And I looked and it was like, there are 0 fogs in standard right now. I get that they're bad and limited, so you don't need to print one every set. But they used to. And 0 in the last year seems like a very odd choice. Yeah, we could do Turbo Fog in green-white. Oh boy. I don't know if Turbo Fog's ever really been a limited archetype. That would be interesting. Cyber5 says, I feel like it being a white card that's also red just makes commander players sad. That's a good point. You just can't use it in mono white decks. You think they had it in one of the arena cubes? That makes sense. In a cube format where you can make sure that there are enough, like there's a high enough density of cards to work for it. I really like the idea of trying to make that work as a limited archetype in just a normal Premier set, though. That sounds interesting. Difficult, but interesting. Custom Magic strongly recommended against it. Well, forget that. You forge out on your own. You do what you want. Green-white fogs could be something in a master set, but definitely not standard. Yeah, it would probably be a bit rough in standard, but I don't know, man. I just really like the deck. I played the only game day I ever won. I tried many times. The only one I ever won was with my Turbo Fog deck back in, I think it was Hour of Devastation game day. And it was so much fun. It was 4-color nonsense, and somehow despite it all, despite my dual lands not being that good, my mana was like perfect. Ether Hub helped a lot. But considering attacking is one of our main archetypes, it would hose that pretty well. Yeah, you gotta have some counterplay, you know? I think how I would approach it in just a normal Premier style set is I would have a common fog. I would have a draw engine, like rare enchantment, because those are tend to be pretty important to that deck. Some source of consistent card draw. And I would probably have another fog at uncommon. And then probably some softer fog type effects, like healing whatever from Dominaria. Healing Grace, which isn't very good, but there. I mean, you could actually make it reasonable in that format. So I would probably approach it like there's not a bunch of fogs in the set, but there's a bunch of things that help a Turbo Fog deck. Fog Frog, yeah, like Haze Frog, I think. Is that it? Oops. Yeah. This was the Tainted Black-White card I was referring to. Oh boy. Oh yeah, and maybe in addition to like a fog instant in green, we could have like a Kamiya False Hope in white. Yeah, and find a way to make the sacrificing itself useful. Like you could have a white-black sacrifice archetype, where instead of having creatures to be sacrificed and outlets that give you bonuses for doing so, you could have creatures that sacrifice themselves and cards that get a bonus whenever one of your creatures dies. So it's still like an aristocrat-style deck, but you're not having one creature sacrifice another and then benefit. You're having one creature sacrifice itself and a different one benefit. Like a fog that rewards you for having multiples of it. That sounds kind of cool. Also, nobody's going to want to play that unless they're really in the archetype. So then how I'm approaching it is then not just like, you're not just having green-white as a whole be a fog archetype. You're having green-white have a fog sub-theme where you could build that with it. But that's not the only thing it's doing. And so you're not like totally disrupting the format. All right, Awe Strike was pretty good. Let me take a look at that. Is that the... No. Next time a creature would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage, and you gain life equal to the damage prevented this way. Gotcha. So it's like a Healing Grace, but it's not limited to 3. It's just whatever the creature would deal. That's pretty cool. If we want to do this pillow fort thing, I'm going to suggest Defender Tribal instead. None of this is being suggested for our current set. Unless you guys want that. It would definitely require some work. We should probably get back on track to making these comments before this stream is titled Much Ado About Fogs. Oh, I thought we were honestly considering Turbo Fog here. We can. I'm open to other suggestions. If that is something that people want to seriously consider, we can. I was just actually talking about it theoretically because it sounds interesting and I do love fog. So, really, I think we're between colorless matters and just generic go wide. If you want to put Turbofog into a Premiere set, you'll have to build the entire rest of the set around it. Maybe. I don't know if it's going to be as oppressive as people seem to think. Because one of the main inhibiting factors to Turbofog decks is can they draw enough cards? Because a fog is inherent card disadvantage. So you need good card advantage to balance it out. So if you can stop your opponent from drawing cards, either by destroying their draw enchantment, or you could counter their draw spell, or pick apart their hand with discard. If we build that up, those options for playing around it, it may not be so bad. I don't think it's a terrible option, especially because the way Turbofog plays, if you ever miss a fog, you kind of just lose. Your opponent will eventually accrue enough value that, enough power on board that if you can't fog, they kill you. I'm personally feeling like Go White would be good with a lot of the other archetypes doing weird things. Having something be more grounded and normal could be beneficial, perhaps even fitting flavorfully with the theme we're going for with Green-White. Okay, so that is a vote from Cyber5. Let me get a spreadsheet open. Just someplace we can tally these up. Guess I should just go to the one for the set. Paranormal set info. There we go. There we go. And scroll down. So, colorless or go wide. We got Cyber5 over here. Okay. I'm just not sure how well Fog as a subtheme would mesh with Aggro Raid as a fairly common go-to archetype. I agree. I think it's a bit if they were in completely different colors, that would be one thing. But since green shares both, it's kind of counterintuitive. You got a bunch of cards you can't play with each other. Although, again, I don't think that Turbo Fog would be taking up that many cards in a set. You would more assemble the strategy from cards that can do other things. And then also a couple different fog spells. Board wipes are just fogs, yes. If you can get a board wipe, those tend to be rare. Board wipes are kind of like double fogs because it takes a couple turns for the opponent to rebuild up again. So then you can go a turn without playing a fog. So the Turbo Fog deck I played in Standard was it had Fevered Visions as the draw engine. So it's put your opponent in a hard place because they take 2 damage after they draw with it if they have too many cards in hand. So then they were forced to just play out all their creatures to try and get their hand empty, and then I would just board wipe. I know Nicol Bolas was doing Naya Raid in that pirate set he was doing, so maybe we do that here. We could if we want to. White also has exploit and research, so I think we were trying to keep it mostly focused on those mechanics. But, I mean, white has aggressive creatures that it can just combo with green raid or red raid. It doesn't have to actually have the mechanic itself. But if you guys want to do that, we can. Gunblade says, Raid wouldn't actually be too upset because they only care about attacking each turn. Yeah, they don't actually care if the damage gets through, so it's a fine point to bring up. Card like Urkel's Recall would be hilarious against weapon/equipment decks. Yeah, but it would be kind of useless against everything else, right? Okay. Defiant Mars is also in favor of the go-wide approach. We already have a decent amount of deviation from a normal Premier set, but I do think we could get away with having colorless sub-theme since there's a bit of overlap with white-blue and black-green. Okay. So Mars votes for go wide, but also a little bit. All lowercase. For colorless? Is this something? I will still be voting for colorless. I think we can do some interesting things with it. And I'm not sure that I don't know. It's something new to explore. I think I would like to try it. So that's going to get my vote. Sorcerer suggests white-green robot tribal. You mean like constructs, caring about constructs? I feel like go wide is probably the easiest to mesh with our other archetypes. We can add some colorless sub-theme stuff since the 1/1s are colorless. The 1/1s. So either or works for me. Yeah, so my original thinking, or I'm not even sure if I'm the one who suggested colorless matters originally, but whoever suggested it, the original idea was we have face-down creatures that are colorless 2/2s. We have 1/1 colorless artifact creature tokens. Why don't we just care about colorless things? So it's honestly like it's still going to basically, I guess, be a go-wide strategy, probably, since they both tend to have a lot of small creatures, but it's more a matter of how are we executing it. I think we should pick one and have the others a sub-theme, which is the main one, doesn't bother me. Okay, so Moose is effectively abstaining. I think even if we don't go with go wide, we can have a slight colorless matter sub-theme, a card or two that care about it. Go wide with colorless. Okay, I guess in that case, we can just have a just generic go wide. I think I'm very slightly outvoted here. I think on the whole, I've heard people feel more like just generic go wide is better, but we can do a slightly colorless sub-theme. So let's try that. We can have a few colorless matters payoffs in each color. Yeah, that sounds good to me. It just seemed like a really interesting thing to try to do. So I'm interested in trying it. But yeah, it'll still be interesting if we just do like a few cards that care about it. So that's fine with me. So go wide. Oops. And colorless sub-theme. And the payoffs work well with go wide since the 1/1s are colorless anyway. Yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more kind of similar they are. So, green white could do the tokens, which happen to be the colorless constructs, thus gets bigger payoffs for colorless. Yeah, so you're saying all colors care about colorless, but or just like a little bit, and then green-white does it more. That's cool for me. I mean, we could have a cycle of colorless matters rares, I guess, if we got space for that. Every set needs an interesting cycle of rares. Okay, so with that in mind, I guess we head back to the sets. I mean, a colorless tribal anthem card feels like a must-have. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Cycle of epic cards, here I come. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I really like the epic mechanic. I know it's highly situational, but it's really cool. And the cards that had it weren't like all great. And there's also not much design space left that you could even do better, different things with it. But still. Turning all of your face downs into 3/3s is a huge buff. I agree. Epic is a terribly designed mechanic. That being said, I love it. Yeah, I mean, just never being able to cast a spell again feels like, okay, I don't get to play the game anymore. So, yeah, that part of it's not great. But on the other hand, it's like you get this awesome spell forever. You just have to build around it, in that you never get to do anything else. Or epic spells with Hive Mind out. Yeah. just abuse them. Maybe a regular anthem that maybe gives a keyword to colorless creatures. Okay, so we want a colorless matters anthem, or Cyber 5 suggests an offshoot of that. What color do we want that in? Do we want that to be a colorless artifact that just buffs all your colorless creatures? Or, I mean, green or white tend to be the anthem colors. Keyword works as well. I just figured being able to trade your constructs with opponents' face-down creatures or having your face-down win 1v1s would be a good payoff for running a lot of them. Probably white, like a glorious anthem that also has colorless creatures have vigilance. So you can attack with them, you can block with them. On either end, you could trade with them, which lets you... Ooh. Yeah, I guess that could work. Yeah, I was trying to think. Like, I guess we want some colorless payoffs in each one. But, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so white could work. It does tend to have more anthem effects even than green does. So I guess we go to white rares. Reprint Forsaken Monument. Yes, please. I finally traded for a copy of that card, so that's going right into my Kozilek Commander deck. Do we like Vigilance? Do we like Lifelink? I guess Vigilance could be good. Your monument is extended. Ooh. This one? Yeah. Is it foil too? You get the foil one? Or you could make another Sylvan Anthem and make everyone angry. Is that the one? Yes, that's what I thought. Why did this make everyone angry? I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good card. Oh, because white bad. Oh, you mean just putting it into white? I see. Okay. Or putting it into green. Yeah, I played this in Modern Horizons. I only got to do a couple drafts, but I had a pretty good deck with it. I was happy with the card. I mean, actually, my deck on the whole was bad, but it worked well with Sylvan Anthem. So I got to do a bunch of scrying with it. Put one bad card on top from top of my deck to the bottom and draw a different bad card. It's strictly better than the white one. Oh. Is it? I don't think I realized that. Gaia's Anthem and Glorious Anthem, they're the same card. I mean, this is just the shifted version of this on purpose. Path of Glory? Oh, Honor of the Pure. Yeah. You were suggesting Path of Glory for this name. Got it. Maybe Path to Glory? Okay, so do we like this design? I mean, Glorious Anthem is just like a pretty decent card. So this with a little bit of upside in the colorless decks, it seems fine. Oh, Sylvan Anthem does only affect green creatures. Yeah, although I do think Honor of the Pure only hits white creatures. But again, if it's a different card you're talking about, there, yeah, I don't know if that does as well. Maybe make it cost a little more, like 2 white or some other slight tweaks. Yeah, you think this is too much? For 3 mana? I mean, Scars of Mirrodin had artifact creatures you control get +2/+2 for 1 white. I'm not suggesting we do that, but I think this is probably fine. Colorless matters rare cycle question mark? Cool. Okay. So, with that in mind, should we head back to our green commons? Okay. So then we don't need to make any colorless matters at common unless we find something that really fits. So we just need to head to our commons, see what we like. So we decided that one was good, or at least that we were indifferent to it. This one's good. This one needs to change. There's still some of the other designs in the Discord too. Yeah, I guess we can take a look at those. Side note, Radiant Destiny gives a tribe +1/+1 and vigilance for 2 white. Okay, so that is... It only gives the vigilance if you ascend, right? Which is a little harder to do in limited. Yes. And it only works on a specific tribe, but granted it was in a set that cared about tribes, so it wasn't hard to make it affect most of your creatures. Based on the eerily normal neighborhood flavor, I'm imagining Green White having undercover androids. Yeah, I agree, Sorcerers. I think we can go a little stronger on Glorious Anthem. I mean, I think Radiant Destiny is not like strictly better, but I think it's evidence of that. But I think what we have is fine. I think it's like slightly better than Glorious Anthem, and I think there's room to actually be more than slightly better and still be a card printed in a set. Yeah, Gunblade. I think that's the flavor that we had suggested, was sort of like creepy, like 50s nuclear household flavor. Just like where everyone is the same. Like I always remember that scene in A Wrinkle in Time, when Meg's on that one planet where everybody's like, all the kids are exactly bouncing their basketballs in time with each other, and everyone has to be perfectly in sync, or else the evil mind that runs the planet gets mad or something. Maybe we can make a hordeling outburst in white called Average Suburban Family. Also, it's better to test strong, since that lets you find the upper limit of what your format can hold. That sounds reasonable. I'm going to be honest, I haven't often gotten to the testing phase, so I don't have a ton of experience there. Yeah, I read a few of her books. I did enjoy them. They were weird, but like still interesting. I always think of the Milkman neighborhood from Psychonauts. I don't know that. I think I've heard of Psychonauts, but I'm not sure what it is. Oh, apparently, yeah, I still haven't watched that. I should do that. So, yeah, apparently that's something Gavin said to do, so. Okay, so we could do a mana dork. That's basically what this was. Do we have to do a mana dork? Green red's like raid, but it still can go big. Black green goes big. Just because it wants to last long enough to play its like big undercover creatures. Psychonauts is a very interesting platformer game where the characters have psychic powers. That sounds kind of cool. I really like platformers. Weren't the entire series of books supposed to be educational in some regard? And I recall hearing about just how weird the other books get too. I'm not sure if they were meant to be educational. I know there was... I read one that was about Meg's twin brothers. And basically they went back in time to like biblical times and hung out with like Abraham and his family, I think. And it was kind of weird. It was a long time ago. I don't remember it that well. Like, it was really interesting, but yeah, it was... I'm not sure what the message was supposed to be. Maybe just the Bible, but... Quiet Waters, yeah, that sounds about right. Could tap for 2 for colorless spells. Gets out face down stuff really easily, but doesn't work that well with normal go wide spells, so not sure. Yeah, it also might be too good if it's a cheap dork that can just tap for 2 mana for colorless spells, because that might help you spit out your undercover too easily. Psychonauts 2 just came out recently, and it's awesome. I highly recommend them both. They're on Game Pass too. Okay, I'll find my pencil and make a note to myself to look that up. So would that whole ability be in Raid? Okay. Mike Moose says, that's fun. A raid dork? I am down with that. Okay. One slight problem with it. One little thing. Once again, that feels pretty similar to this guy. Yeah, Mike Moose noticed that too. What if it was a 1-mana dork and said, tap, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast colorless spells, or cast spells from exile? We just want to make the same card 3 times. Yeah. Sorcerer says, have this one ping the opponents. Well, if it only taps for very specific spells, then the rest of the time is just a 1/1 for 1, and that doesn't seem that good, so we could probably get away with it at common. So I guess which do we like better? Mana Dork that taps for an extra mana if, with Raid, or just this 2/1 that gives you a mana instead of not, I guess. I like the idea of a Mana Dork tapping for colorless just due to it maybe being a more industrial plane. That's kind of cool. Is it still Raid, or do we just... Macmoose likes the red one more. I think I also like the red one more. Lizard suggests 1/2 for 1 like Jespera Sentinel. Yeah, usually then you need another cost to it. I guess you might be suggesting still if it's a Raid ability. So, makes sense. Maybe it gets a stat buff if you have a face-down exiled card. So tap it, tap an untapped land you control to add 3 colorless mana. Do we have Bear with Set mechanic? No. Our green bear is just, it's... Oh, this is actually even a 3 mana 2/2. So no, we do not have Bear with Set mechanic. We have a creature that can be a 1/2 or a 2/1. Colon, not period. Ah, thank you. Okay, so then this is just a normal dork that ramps you for 1, but it gives you 3 colorless mana. We only have 1 card in the set currently that uses colorless mana, but, it's still fine. Wait, this is still ramping you by 2, isn't it? Bear with Set mechanic. Yeah. I think my problem is it's still ramping you by 2, which as a 2-mana dork tends to be... This is very cheap for that effect. It doesn't matter that it's not producing colorless, or the colored mana. It's a +2 dork, but it only gives you colorless and makes you give up colored mana. Yeah, but I feel like if you just focus on spells that cost a single colored mana, you could still, or even 2 colored mana, you could still play a 5-drop with 2 colored pips in it on turn 3 with this. What about a mana dork that's also a Rootwalla? Okay. Yeah, Mike Moose, that just goes back to the, like, just the fact that it ramps you for 2. That's very, very strong for a 2-drop to do. You know, if we wanted to ramp you by 2, you know, we could make it a 4-drop or something. That would be a lot more reasonable. You're suggesting having it still tap for green. So this is kind of interesting. It gives you a dork early game when you just need to ramp, and then late game it gives you, when you have enough mana, it gives you a reasonably sized creature. Oh. Maybe the ability should be 2 and a green as well, since it could probably pay for itself if it gets vigilance. I guess. We don't have too many ways of granting vigilance. Because the Glorious Anthem effect doesn't affect it, since it's colored. We do have the combat trick that untaps it, but then you're already... Oh, yeah, I guess on defense. I see what you're saying. Yeah, on defense, that would be more reasonable. I don't think this guy getting vigilance to save you mana is a play pattern you have to worry about. Yeah, but on defense, it would be a bit different. Okay, I can see that. Okay, so then we still don't have Bear with Sets mechanic. Let's see. This one we designed just... one green bear with set mechanic enters as your choice of a 2/2 green bear or a 2/2 green bear. That is a good joke. Isn't Average Joe technically our bear with set mechanic? Kind of. He doesn't ever cost 2 mana. So I don't think that qualifies, because I think specifically bears have to be 2/2s for 2. He's a bear enough. It works for me. Undercover or Raid are the set abilities. So our bear would have to have one of them. Barely a bear. Bear with undercover sounds cool. Well, let's take a look at our current green undercover, because we wanted 3 in the colors that care most about it. So currently we have this guy, which is it is a bear, but for 4 mana. Cough Grismore. Yeah, that's fair. We do technically have Grismore in here. I think we may have been deciding to make him not a legendary creature. I think we decided we maybe don't need legendary uncommons. Although, maybe some people still want them. I don't know. We could... It's clearly... Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I got confused for some reason. I thought we had a bear in here somewhere, but I guess I was mistaken. Let's see. So our 2-drops are currently this mutant, this mana dork. Oh, that's it. Well, I feel like we need another 2-drop creature. Stats are right, but that one's definitely a human. Yeah, that's weird. I should have... maybe we should reflavor it as a bear. Yeah, I think I know what happened. I think we decided that we needed fewer 3-drops because there's 3 undercover cards in green. So I think we decided we actually only need 2 green 3-drops, and when usually would have 3 or 4. And then we must have changed the costs of one of these cards, so it became 3. So we actually need to bring one of these down to 2. Do we have a creature that will come in with some constructs? Not in green, we don't. At least I don't believe so. Actually, I guess I should just search construct. Oh, we did make one. Never mind. We actually originally had 2, although we no longer like either of these designs. So this is a positive aura that when it dies, you get 2 tokens. So we were going to cut that. And then this is just a too cute naturalized spell. But the one that we do have that we're considering keeping is this urban redevelopment. And Mekmu says, I'm not sure we need a bear in the set since all undercover creatures are 2/2s. It does make a bear seem a little bad. Cyber5 does have suggestions for those as well. Excellent. So Gunblade is suggesting one and a green for 1/1, enter the battlefield, create a 1/1. Yeah. I know we have a red card that does that. Yes. So I think we need to change the red card to not make multiple 1/1 constructs, if that's going to be green and white's thing. Like, red-white is still using artifacts, but red has a couple weapons. It has one card that makes 1 construct. I think we should then cut the one that makes 2 in red. It's a little different. So it's basically a beetleback goblin, whatever that's called. But more common level. So, yeah, 2/1 for 4 that makes 2 1/1s. We've talked about cutting this card from red anyway, but I think that since we are moving these constructs more into green, we should just go the whole way and get rid of this. which should be fine since we weren't too attached to it anyhow. We put it in because we were talking about having like a maybe more of a go wide in red-white with a trumpet blast effect. We do still have kind of a trumpet blast, but that'll work just fine if we have more constructs in green and white. Then you can pair those colors with red and still have it work. Yeah. So I say change. Okay. So I guess let's... I mean, it's not a bad thing to have multiple cards that need to be create constructs as long as they aren't just color shifts of each other. Yeah, this isn't... yeah, I mean, I guess in Kaladesh you had a bunch that just made servos, right? These tokens are effectively the same thing as servos. I agree. I just want to make sure that the colors are doing their own things. And if green and white care about these constructs, red-white can do something a little different. I mean, it still cares about artifacts, but how many common weapon makers do we have in red again? Currently 2. We have... Field testing. This is the one that creates a construct and a weapon token attached to the construct. And we have our replicating artifact. Okay, why do I click the number button and it doesn't sort by number? That is so weird to me. Am I crazy? No, it's 43 and then 71. I don't know. I'm sick of it. So 2. Which honestly seems like a pretty solid amount. I think I like that number. So back to green. Okay. Okay, I guess let's get through Cyber 5's suggestions. Might need a weapon maker in white too, sometime just to balance things out. Yeah, we could consider that as well. I'll put that on the possible to-do list. Okay, so let's get through Cyber 5 suggestions just so that we make sure we hit that, and then we'll get back to Gunblade's suggestion of a 1/1 that makes a 1/1 construct, because that seems like a reasonable card for this set. Okay, so we don't really care for this one. So Cyber 5 suggested choose one, destroy target artifact, you gain 3 life, destroy target enchantment, scry 1. In our set, we're not doing scry, so in this case, it would be surveil 1. Just trying to preemptively figure out what we could replace the squad leader with. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, Defiant Mars. Yeah, if you want to work on that, feel free. I guess I could also look back at the cuts folder, see what we got rid of from Common Red. This was kind of my spin on our mutant spells we were talking about, too. Yeah, I think we had... No, maybe we had a blue spell that was like mutant-y. Yeah, that might have been it. I think it was... Yeah, frenetic mutation. So, yeah, having a green one too could be fun, just flavorfully. My main question is it too much? So it gives you 4 things to do. Destroying an artifact, obviously you're playing it mainly for the destroying an artifact or enchantment. In fact, you can't even play the card without doing so. But then it also tacks on either 3 life gain or Surveil 1. Yeah, I'm not talking about a power level perspective. I'm just talking about like a complexity perspective. Is it easy to parse what all it does, or are you going to forget which one does the 3 life gain go with, which one does the Surveil go with? I know that's not a huge issue, like remembering which goes with which, but it's just like a lot to process. Seems weird that you gain the life for destroying an artifact, but not for an enchantment. Power level, I think this card's completely fine. I'm just trying to figure out, is it like too much for a card to do? I like the concept. You're taking a card in green that's already modal and making it like more modal by tacking on another thing to each one. Mainly wanted the rewards to be different to make the decision more interesting. I hear that. I guess my thing is, since you can't play the card without destroying an artifact or enchantment, most of the time it's not a decision. They either have an artifact you want to destroy, or they have an enchantment you want to destroy, and rarely they have both. Rarely do they have both. So I like the concept. We could potentially move, like, we could make a different card, like a modal spell version of the mutants, if we wanted to do that. Or we could just flavor and naturalize as a mutant-y spell. Also, there's probably going to be way more artifacts in the set, so I'd prefer it to have the weaker of the benefits. Well, I would probably say gaining 3 life is a little weaker than surveilling 1. Yeah, I think so. They're pretty comparable. I don't think naturalize would be as easily flavored as that. I mean, flavor does wonders. There's a lot you can justify with flavor. So, we could have it be destroy target artifact or do something completely different instead of destroying an enchantment. So that way, then it's still not like completely a choice, because if they have an artifact you want to destroy, you might just do that. But you'd have an option for something else you could do. Didn't we have modal removal in white? Yes, I feel like we did. In fact, I remember what the card is. It is destroy an enchantment, or create a 1/1, or you get a research. This being our 1 instant speed research. Okay, this is no longer relevant. This would be like our 1 way to get research at instant speed, so it's kind of cool in white. I mean, this is kind of... We could just reprint Naturalize, you know? It's a fine card. It's a fine, rather, sideboard card. And this is kind of a world where the, like, artificial, like, society is fighting back against the quote-unquote natural. It's more kind of unnatural. Oh, what if we called it Unnaturalize? Just curious, what color would put a face-down card in an opponent's exile into their graveyard be? I'm not sure if that would fit on a green card. Kind of feels black, but could be a cool mode. Mekmu says it would be white. There is a card that does this. People just don't like it. Pull from Eternity, I believe, is the card in question. Yeah, I mean, the answer is Pull from Eternity is the card that does it. Oh, if I could spell it right. No, I had it. There we go. Yeah, I asked you to reprint it ages ago, and everyone said no. Everyone did say no. Personally, I'm on board. We just can't reprint this specific card because it only works on face-up exiled cards. So it actually doesn't do in our set what we want it to do. Yeah, functional reprint. Yeah, so this is the thing that we were talking about last week that is super like dangerous, to allow a card to pull another card from exile, because that sort of bypasses all of the balancing that's been done on cards that do put other cards into exile, because their whole point is that they get rid of things permanently. Often that is what exiles were, used for. And so this bypasses all that. So yeah, the thing about this is it only does it to opponent's cards, so it's less breakable because you can't do it to your own stuff. And yeah, that's also why the Eldrazi were not like super broken, although, Death and Taxes broke them a little bit. By putting out the creatures that exile a card from an opponent's hand until they leave the battlefield, and then processing those cards away. It's a little broken, but that's in a higher powered format, so it actually ended up not overpowering. So we could do a Pull from Eternity type card. I kind of like that idea. That said, it's only been really done the once. I think there's a green one too. I believe it's Rift Sweeper. Okay. This one shuffles anyone's face-up exiled card into their library. So these are the two main cards that get around those exile restrictions. So it's been done in white, it's been done in green. It hasn't been done enough to really solidify where it would be. All the processors are devoid and in basically any color. That is a good point too. Yeah, I don't think we can say with certainty what color it is because they don't do it enough to actually have it in a specific color. Okay. Well, I like the idea of it. So I would personally choose white since it's a functional but not powerful effect. And white gets a lot of those. Yeah, probably put it on an uncommon though. So it's not too terribly, just not happening all over the place. Okay. So I guess this all was a tangent from Unnaturalize, or that's what I'm calling it right now. It doesn't actually have to be named that. But we need a naturalized spell. Do we like this version? Do we want to go with a different version? We could just go with naturalize, or we could try and come up with something else. Lizard says, it does seem like in this instance it feels more like a black card since it's similar to discard if your only use for it is getting rid of someone's undercover card. Yeah. Wasn't there a black card that ate somebody's adventure card, putting it into the graveyard? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 3 mana, Thoughtseize. And then you may put a card that has an adventure that player owns from exile into that player's graveyard. That's the closest analog in recent memory. Actually, that's kind of the closest analog ever Because the whole point is that it's fighting back against a mechanic that puts the card into exile. It's basically the same thing. That has an actual discard on it as well. Yes, it does. But that still means that they put this thing on a mono black card. You can't just say that because it has other black stuff on it, that this effect is no longer black. That this effect is not black. Again, I don't think there's enough precedent to say for sure what color it goes into. I just think this is the best precedent, and it's recent. But I could be wrong. I honestly think it would be white, green, or black. Those are the three colors that make sense. To me, flavorfully, those are the colors that have cards that do it in the past. So... it's like reverse graveyard exile. Kind of. It's like you're exiling the card, so they can't use it anymore. But they actually can use it from exile, so instead you're putting it into their graveyard, so they can't use it. It's perfectly fair. Also, since they're face down, how would the undercover be chosen in case there's multiple? Well, for example, with morph creatures, if you have two morph creatures out, and, the opponent sees one of them, but not the other, you can't just, mix them up so they don't know which is which. They're allowed to track the card as it, is out on the board. I feel like Undercover has to work the same way, where you can track it, where you know what creature it was on the battlefield. You know that is the same card that's in Undercover, even though you can't see it. So if you did have a card that let you see it previously, which we have a couple in the set that do that, you would still get to know which card that is in exile. They have to actually track the card. It's the same rules as Foretell. A card that lets you look at undercover cards, it doesn't let you look at face-down exiled cards, does it? It probably should. Just to make it simpler, right? Seems like a simple enough fix. So now this also works on cards that came out before, that went into exile before you had the shades. So any other green cards should get to as well. Any other green cards? Any cards that let you see this should let you see them in exile. Yes. Are there other cards? Oh, these are all just surveil. Let's just double check that. I felt like we had a second card that let you look at face down stuff. Doesn't seem we do. It could be in the case files. But that's a good note. All cards that let you look at face down creatures should let you look at face down exiled cards as well. You passed it. Background check. Thank you. Before we had the hyphen, I never know whether I need the hyphen or not. Can you target a face-down card in exile? Well, I guess... Choose target face-up exile card. Target face-up. So you can target face-up cards in exile, so I assume you can target face-down ones. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, Cyber5. Cool. Oh, man. This is a pretty cool card. I like this cantrip. Now we need a card that gives cards in exile hexproof. Ooh. All cards you own anywhere have Ward 3. Okay, so I guess... Oops. I guess we should come back to this later, since we don't seem to be coming up with ideas for it now. I think for now I'll just put it as destroy target artifact or enchantment, because that seems to be a good place to start. Your trade binder has Ward 3. Yeah, you gonna pay the mana so that we can start trading? Okay, so next suggestion from Cyber5 was... Okay, we did the pump spell, Monstrous Rampage. We did the ramp spell, Urban Redevelopment. Oh, okay. So we still need a modal spell though. Yeah, I don't know that it's like 100% necessary that we have a modal instant or sorcery, but we certainly can do that. Well, let's see. We didn't like this design. So, yeah, change. We didn't like this design. I believe you suggested a replacement for this. Let me go find that one. It's not that big of an ask for a set anyways. It can be pretty common. Yeah, but just if we don't have space, like, I don't see it as something that we have to do necessarily. But perhaps you all feel differently. Seems like Cyber5 really wants it. So if there are other people who also feel that way, again, this is not just my set. I want this to be everybody's set. So always feel free to let me know if my feelings are not everyone's. Okay, so you suggested blend in. So it's enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has ward 2. And undercover. And obviously this is not a sorcery, this is an enchantment. Aura. Can we make this maybe just like 4 mana? I like that a little better than 1 green. 4 mana auras tend to give +3/+3 in green. Okay. Oops, I already did type aura. Format. Pioneer. Ah, green. That's what I forgot, that it needed to be green. Sorted by mana value. Oh, I guess I can go O+. That'll restrict it to things that just buff. So 2 mana for 2/2. 2 mana for 1/3. 3 mana for flash, 2/2. That makes sense. 3 mana for 2/2. 3 mana for 2/2 flash. Here we go. Oaken Form is 3 mana for 3/3. 4 mana, 4 mana, 3/3. Yeah. You appear to be right. We have a couple, I guess this isn't super recent, but relatively recent examples of 4 mana auras granting +3/+3. In fact, the only 4 mana auras give +3/+3. So this one gives reach. This one can give trample. So giving ward 2. I mean, it is a lot of mana, but the risk of auras is like +2/+2 to a creature is quite good. The risk with auras is that, you know, your creature just dies and then you lose both cards. Ward helps mitigate that. Undercover helps mitigate that. 4 mana might be viable here. I think with the extra abilities, that might be reasonable. But let me know if you guys feel differently. I'm going to get some more water. I will be back in a couple minutes, so feel free to deliberate on this card as you see fit. All right. I have returned, and I see no more discussion has happened. Blend In as a name makes me think that it's a card that should flip your creature face down and give it undercover in response to a murder spell or board wipe. Sounds pretty cool. Okay. Let me just put that whole thing That has absolutely nothing to do with this card, though. Yeah, so I'm going to put that whole thing as a suggestion on our to-do list. Once we're through all these commons, maybe we start tackling that to-do list, and then probably the rares. Really just trying to map out what are all the rares that we want to have. Okay, so I think this looks fine as is. It is an expensive aura, but I think the ward 2 is great because it actually protects the creature that you're giving +2/+2 to. Okay. Okay, then we have Ambush from Above. I guess that may replace... Oh, yeah. We have our positive aura, so now this can just be whatever. So this could be the spell that you have suggested, which is... Until end of turn. Target creature you control gains whenever this creature deals damage to a creature with flying, destroy that creature. Then it fights target creature you don't control. Let me go fix these typos. Oh, yeah, I guess I have not been putting the archetypes on the cards as we've designed them. So yeah, let me just go back. Archetypes. Yeah, so you're saying red, green, and black, green. I think that sounds about right to me. I feel like a cleaner wording would be a normal fight spell, but if the target has flying, it also gets death touch. Well, how about we kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Oh, right. Actually, that's supposed to replace this fight spell. Well, whatever. We'll get rid of that later. What if... Choose 1. Destroy... Target creature with flying. Target creature you control. Fights target creature you don't control. So it's slightly different, but it still kind of accomplishes the same thing. And I know Cyber5, you were really wanting that modal spell. So does this sort of fit your image of what a modal spell should look like? Do you think that we can get good like mutant flavor in this? If it doesn't quite work with what you're thinking, that's okay. I'm just trying to, you know, simplify everything while also getting everything in there that we want. I certainly think it works with a flavor. Cool. So this can be our mutant modal. I mean, I guess mutant modal is kind of redundant, but mutant modal spell for green. It's also a plummet. It's also a fight spell. So Maybe Death Touch for flyers could be on an uncommon creature, though. It's just good, strange flavor. That's kind of cool. So, like, we actually spell out... Here, let's, you know... You could have your 2/4 for 4 reach. I mean, it's an uncommon, so it's probably a bit better, but let's just start with this base. Death Touch to flyers. Do we actually call it that, or do we just say when this would deal like when this deals damage to a flyer destroyed at end of combat? Similar to Vampire Slayer or Dinosaur Hunter. Got it. Probably spell it out. Okay. We're trying to do weird stuff in the set, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, spelling it out is probably a lot easier. Slayer. Speaking of Vampire Slayer, has anyone played any Crimson Vow yet? I mean, pre-release starts tomorrow, so not really. Yeah, it's on Arena already, so I did a draft today. Too busy trying to do some MF in Diablo 2. I keep forgetting to look into Diablo 2. I should probably do that before everybody stops liking it, and then I'm just playing it alone, because I finally got around to it. Been playing a bunch of Forza. I don't know Forza. Forza Horizon 5. Looks like a racing game. That's cool. People still played the original, so... Yeah, but now I feel like I'm hearing about the new one constantly, and I never heard about the original, you know? Gonna miss out on those trends. I gotta keep up with the cool kids. Creature, probably a spider, and obviously this isn't, like, that good on an uncommon, so we'll want to give it some upgrades. Some buffs. But the idea is here. So, we can go back to commons. Okay. So we got our fight spell, so we don't need this anymore. How do you do, fellow Forzaists? Spider is missing an R. Oh no. Oh no, I've lost him. Where'd you go? Oh yeah, Spide. I thought spider was the plural. So there's 1 spide and 5 spider. Is that not correct? Spide-eye. Oh, I'm so sorry. Spiders. The OG got some mention a couple years back because of a new patch after 10 years. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Maybe they were working on the new version of it, and they're like, oh, we can just easily apply some of this to the old one. I know nothing about the game, so maybe that is nowhere close to what happened. But, you know, that's interesting. Okay, so back to the commons. Specifically back to this fight/plummet. Plummet is 2 mana, I believe. Yes. And Pounce is instant speed, 2 mana, fight spell. Your friendly neighborhood man spider. Well, they have to work on one of their games. Overwatch hasn't had a proper update in like 8 months. That's not true. They just changed that one character's name. Scrubbed every mention of his name from the game and replaced it. Now he's Cole Cassidy, right? But yes, that's not a real game update. I really did enjoy Overwatch. I just stopped playing when, my brother and we used to play together, and then we both got busy, so we stopped playing. Oh, I also did not realize Man Spider was a real character. Should I actually Google him, or should I not really? Okay, it's not that bad, but it is like Spider-Man, but instead of the man, it's a spider. I mean, that's the issue using real people's names for your fictional universe. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's a lesson that those developers will not quickly forget. Probably not do that again anytime soon, but you live and you learn. I liked Overwatch when it was still called Team Fortress 2. Oh, I don't know. I played a little bit of Team Fortress 2 with a friend, but I never got that into it, so I don't know. Not my style, I guess. So is this fine at 2 mana? I mean, both versions of this card independently cost 2 mana. So often, having the option brings it up to 3. But, Pounce is not... It was never an amazing card, but maybe that's just because of the format that it was in. I mean, I've probably played about 2,000 hours into TF2. I mean, I know it was a really popular game. It just wasn't something I got into. And I'm not sure why, but... Because it was free to play. So I could have. Because back then, I did not spend much money on video games, but... Again, guys, I don't know. I don't play this. Apparently it's still popular. I just know I haven't heard of it anytime lately, so... Also, Plummet sucks even at 1 mana. Okay, so 2 mana is fine. Cool. Yeah, I played it 2 times, 6 or 7 years ago. So I really don't know much about TF2 as to, whether people still play it or not. I just know I haven't heard of it lately, so that in my mind means that it's less popular now. But I know that's not actually reflective of reality. Plummet is one of those cards you 14th pick because you happen to be in green. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a valuable pick in some formats. But yeah, since it's always a sideboard card, you can pretty much bank on getting it past you late. And like I said, Pounce was not that good. Now, Ixalan was a weird set, so I don't know that we can take that as an indication of its actual power level. But we can try. It's a similar design to a braid, too. That's a good point. It's true, they haven't really been upping their power level of their removal at common, so this is actually probably something they would... I mean, I don't know if they would actually get to this design the way we did, but, it'd be... Power level-wise, it's probably fine to print these days. Okay. And let's see, what did you call it? Ambush from above. Probably still works. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Ambush from above. Seems like you're below if you're killing something with flying. Have I mentioned how much I hate hill difficulty? Isn't that whole game set in hell? Isn't it all just the same difficulty then? Okay. Cyber5 says, well, imagine you're falling on top of something flying, making it fall. Yeah, I mean, we actually probably want to change the name based on mutant flavor, right? You have normal, nightmare, then hell. In nightmare, your resistances take a -40 debuff. In hell, they take a 100% debuff. Oh, okay. Cool. So you just take a boatload more damage. It's over, creature with flying. I have the high ground. Okay. Well, at the very least, we got that done. We can worry about flavors later. So that leaves us with we still need to shift one of these. Yeah, so I guess all these suggestions from Cyber5 were for the non-creatures. As it turns out, we actually had a lot of each that we needed to redo. So we still need to redo some of the green creatures. So first and foremost, we need another 2-drop, potentially even 2. Green tends to get 3 or 4 2-drops. Regressive evolution, like suddenly losing the ability to fly. That's not bad. Doesn't fit the fight half much. I agree. Reject flying, return to big beaters. Yes. Come to the dark side. Return to monkey. Okay, so this creature we decided is okay if we go with go wide, which we did, so it's probably fine. Basically, as long as you can keep playing creatures, this guy's great. If you can't, he might be a problem. And he does trade with undercovers, so there's that, if you don't buff him. Then we have Threshold Stalker, which is theoretically our Garth spell. It's gone through a lot of iterations. He'd be really good with something that makes 2 tokens. I agree, and that's definitely the idea. So I think I do like Gunblade's suggestion to make one of our 2-drops a 1/1 that makes another 1/1. Obviously, that's like, that doesn't curve properly. You know, you want to play the 2-drop after the 3-drop, but still. I'd say something to replace the reverse life linker, really. Yeah, this is a cool concept, but we should probably just upshift it. So I will put this in the... Actually, just to save time, let's just put it here. Just move it all here. Okay. So, then back to here. I'd prefer a white card that makes a 1/1 both on ETB and death. Then it's white-black sack fodder as well. Yeah, I remember that we have one of those, like, as a rare, potentially, on our to-do list. Kick that white-shaped can down the road. I mean, that's more of a white card. You know, they have white cards that do that. And red one, actually. There's the goblin that makes another one. But it could be green. But you know what? It does make sense, Megmoose. I guess the question is just, yes, white is going to be making them, but does that mean that green cannot as well? Obviously, the white ones work well with the sacrifice. I mean, the goblin with Echo. That one, but also... Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. It's Krenko's Command. It's not actually a creature. It is a sorcery that makes 2 1/1 goblins. Effectively the same thing. Okay, but either way, we know we're getting rid of that. We know that we want to change a 2-drop, 3-drop back to a 2-drop. Oh, but you don't get the 3rd creature. Oh, yeah, but at common, I don't think you're going to get 3. I mean, there is the goblin that does that, but that was that Time Spiral? I don't know. I don't think at common that you should be able to get all 3 creatures. For 2 mana, at least. Maybe our bear could be something like Sporeback Wolf, so it stands up to undercovers. Let's take a look at what that is. Oh, is that... let me figure out what that one is. Ah, yes. As long as it's your turn, it gets +0/+2. It's not bad. It's definitely a fine attacker. Let's see how our other 2-drops fare against them. Not great. I mean, do we want to do that exactly? Or do we want to do something similar? Oops. I said copy, sir. There we go. They've done it twice already, so it's probably fine. Yeah. The other one was in Rivals of Ixalan? Yeah, Hardy Veteran. Our Return from Exile card could be a reverse Scooze in green. It would probably need to be uncommon, but gives -1 counters to put from exile into grave instead of the other way around. That's interesting. Of course, then you're incentivized to not do it. But obviously you still want to do it so they lose access to cards, but you're killing your creature. That's interesting. Yeah, you know, I think this is a decent suggestion. You still get to attack, so you can raid. It's a 2-drop you can still attack with into undercovers. This guy can attack if it's a 2/1 vigilance, but it will die to undercovers. Barry Grismore Jr. What's it called when an animal like tries to make themselves look bigger, you know? Intimidating? Oh. Yeah? I guess we could do that. Intimidate's not a keyword anymore. But they sunset that keyword. Yeah, that means that, you know, you can put it on stuff without people expecting it to have the keyword. It's great. We can't put menacing bear, which was my first thought, because then people will be like, why does this not have menace? Could make it untap if it deals combat damage as well. It really makes your opponent want to block. I guess they do have... There was the one in Amonkhet that did that. It's like a cat. A 3/1 for 2. So then this, interestingly, this doesn't block undercovers very well. It can attack through them, it just won't block it because it'll still be a 2/2 in trade, and you don't really want that. So we don't have any 3 toughness 2-drops, which we could change if we want to, you know, mess with our mana dork. Now that you mentioned Amonkhet, I kind of want a construct version of Regal Caracal. Yeah, just making all the tokens, and then giving all the tokens +1/+1. Or, well, probably all colorless creatures, but really, do we want high toughness creatures when we have undercovers? I mean, I think there should be some. I don't want a color to just be completely beaten by it. Green is one of the undercover colors, so we don't necessarily need to give it a bear. I know that was stated earlier, but I'm just restating that. We don't need this. Green is kind of meant to be more aggressive anyways, isn't it? Potentially. Raid is more aggressive. Green-white is going to be, like, pretty mid-range. It could potentially be aggressive. Green-blue is mutants, which are also pretty mid-range. They're more like towing the line between defense and offense. Like, you can play a creature that does either. That's kind of what a lot of our mutant creatures are, is pick one or the other. Make it an 0/4 that gets +2/+0 on your turn. So it still attacks as a 2/4, but it won't kill any. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. But then it's not a bear. Yeah. Slumbering. Goes to sleep on your opponent's turn and just sits there, hibernating. Yeah, I mean, stat-wise, it's not actually a bear. Don't wake the sleeping common. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? +2/-2? Then it becomes a 2/2. Should we have a discussion on the spectrum of what is considered a bear? All right, moving on. We got... actually, this can move down to be CG04. No, I did that wrong. 04. And this can be 06. Lightning bolt is my favorite bear. I too have seen those Reddit posts. I agree. I really hate that format because I don't feel like anyone really uses it well in any way, shape, or form. The only good ones I see are the ones on the parody page where people are being stupid on purpose. So we do really need to... I'm pretty sure they were made for humor anyways. That's fair. I guess that's fair. But, like, most of the time, I can't even understand what's going on because, like, it just wasn't done in any way that makes sense. At least to me. It doesn't mesh with me. So, I don't know. Okay. We do really need our Threshold Stalker to be a pretty solid card that you might want to Garth. You're talking about the grids? Yes. That's like 3 things on one axis, 3 things on the other axis, and then you have 9 boxes that show, what is considered a bear. And the upper left one must be bear, or like type bear, and then stats are 2/2 for 2. And then, you get gradually like more lenient on the different parts of the grid, and then on the other end it's like a card that's completely not a bear in any way, shape, or form. Want it related to face down creatures or be a more general use card? I don't think it needs to be related to undercover creatures. It needs to have the flavor of being from the Threshold, which is where all of the like weird stuff is coming from. Which could be undercover creatures, but I don't think it has to be. Its abilities can't be too confusing. It has to be pretty simple because it's going to be cast as effectively, it's going to be like conjured up. It's going to be Garthed up from one of our lands. 4/2 trample. Does die to undercovers. I don't think that necessarily kills a card in our set. I mean, 4/2 trample for 3 is generally a good rate. So I definitely like the simplicity. We could also increase its size. If we wanted our Garth creature to be bigger, we could make it a 4/4 trample for 4. Something like that. Doesn't matter what else is in the set. A 4-power trample is a 4-power trample. I think I agree. We don't have to design every card around undercover. So while this dies to them, you give it any pump spell, it can survive, and it just deals a lot of damage. So I think I'm fine with this, unless anyone else has any objections. I think this is a good suggestion, Cyber 5. I also think Gunblade making it a mutant is a cool idea, especially because that is what the Threshold is. Kind of, it's affecting people, turning them into weird stuff, or I guess creatures. But just the complexity of choosing between one of 2 things on a Garth card is, I think, a little too much. Okay, so let's just go with this, because I'm not hearing any objections. Sometimes you just got to flunge a trampler at the face. Yeah. All right. That said, we have another 3 mana Trampler. So... Beast Horror. Oh, that's probably... Oh, yeah. Beast Horror. That sounds about right to me. Yeast Horror, the bane of cooking. Okay, so yeah, we have this 4/2 Trampler. Now we have this. It's another 3-drop Trampler, which I liked the design of. Mutant where one mode is a food. We did talk about having an enchantment that could mutate into an artifact. Then I tried to put all that wording onto a card, and I was like, this is not worth it, so we cut that. Ginger Brute was cool. And very good card, both in limited and standard, as it turns out. It was just really sweet when somebody put like a beanstalk on it. And now it's a 4/4 and trample haste that also can't be blocked. Also delicious. Oh. If there aren't enough words to handle a type-changing effect, consider using flip technology. Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. We were just trying to make it like a mutant creature, and in our set, we're not doing double-faced mutants. We're doing, like, when they come in, you choose one of 2 things, and they're relatively simple to choose from, so it's just all on the front face. So we couldn't make it transforming. It didn't work for that card, but that is a really good suggestion. Not transform, flip. Okay. It's worth considering. They don't do flip it anymore because, well, they didn't bring it back because it was kind of confusing when the card was tapped. You know, some people tap their cards opposite ways, so it's like hard to tell which side is actually supposed to be up. Speaking of which, I did make that redesign for the rare one too. Yes, you did. We can jump on that now. Where's that rare one at? Undefined Menagerie. Yeah, so originally it was a rare creature that could be one of 3 different rare creatures. They all had cool abilities. The problem is it's just a wall of text. So, you fixed it. I saw the redesign and it looks good to me. So, 3/6 mutant elk. I don't remember whether it's supposed to have creature or not. With tap, add green, green, green. Or a 4/4 mutant elephant with indestructible. That's a good one. Or a 7/3 mutant worm with trample, vigilance, and haste. Okay. Yeah, so this fits a lot better. It's a lot less like you're reading a novel trying to understand this card. So if you already know what mutants do, you can skip this line and just read 3/6 Mutant Elk with, I mean, you're really just looking at 3/6, tap, add 3 mana, 4/4, indestructible, 7/3 with 3 abilities. That's pretty easy to parse. Last mode should be a 6/6 dinosaur with trample. Oh, no. Elk is for control, elephant is for mid-range, and worm is for aggro. Yeah, and there's so many options with this card, you know, because you have the 3 that it can come in as, but also this is a good attacker or a good blocker. This is also a good attacker, but, you know, it dies pretty easily. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this design. I think it's a very good one. So I like your redesign where you just made it all a lot simpler. All right, and I need to remember to put credit. I'm trying to put credit when I remember to, so Cyberferv. There we go. Repeated text on ability words or pseudo-mechanics don't count for lines of text because they're shortcutted when reading them. Technically, this only has 3 lines of rules text. So you're saying you would cut this because it's a repeated, I mean, it's not keyworded, but it is a repeated mechanic in the set. And so you're counting these 3 as different lines. The elephant, while indestructible, isn't as good as attacking as the worm or as supportive as the elk. Yep, it can go either way. They do count for total lines on a card, though. Yeah, and I'm really not sure what all the rules are. I know that you red flag commons if they have more than four or more lines of text. I think it's 4 or more, not more than 4. But is excluding mechanics like you said. But if this was a common, it wouldn't be red flagged for a long text box. Okay, that's cool. It would be red flagged for other reasons, but yes. I mean, maybe all of our mutants would be red flagged just for complexity issues, like remembering which mode was chosen. Cool. I like this a lot. Okay, so yeah, this one also grants trample, which is probably fine, but so does our pump spell. Now make an alt art version with an old border and no dot points. Please, no. I know some people probably like those old style planeswalkers that they came out with in Secret Lairs, but I am not about that life. I know Wizards did it. No. I'm sure if I were older and had started playing the game at the very beginning, that would be a really cool nostalgic thing for me. But I was a baby when the game came out, and that is not a thing I'm interested in. They're made for someone, but that someone's not me. Yeah, and it's cool. I harbor no ill will toward them for making that Secret Lair. There's people who want it. That's great. I think that's what the Secret Lairs are for. They're not supposed to be for everybody. Each one's supposed to be for somebody. I'm a linguist. I really liked the Phyrexian Secret Lair because it gave us more Phyrexian letters to learn the language. So that's pretty cool. That's for me. I got that. And of course that one's kind of for everybody because the Praetors are so good, but whatever. Mechmoose has 2 decks built entirely around the old border, but hates them. I feel like there could be a Secret Lair sometime with overly verbose cards for simple ones like Counterspell or Day of Judgment. So you just take those very simple text cards and just make them as wordy as you can. Gunblade dislikes Phyrexian text cards. for the same reason you dislike the Amonkhet special cards. They're hard to read. I mean, yeah, in the case of the Phyrexian ones, they're kind of impossible for a person to read unless they have learned Phyrexian. And that would be a good reason also to hate the literal, like, full art FNM promos, Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile and that stuff, because they have no text. The card doesn't tell you what it does. So I agree. Now, because I play with people who know what the Praetors do, it's not a big problem. But I probably wouldn't play those with against newer players or people that I'm not sure of, because that's a very real concern. We've had Squirrel and Cat Secret Lairs, now we need the Bidoof one. I forget what Urabrask does. That's fair. He is the least played one. He's a 4/4 for 5 haste, and creatures your creatures all have haste, and creatures your opponent controls enter the battlefield tapped. But, I only remember that probably because that was like a very cool card, because I had like just started playing the year before, so New Phyrexia was super new and interesting to me, and I remember, the Praetors being pretty impactful. But Urabrask doesn't see play really, so there's no reason why people would remember him. I know Bidoof is a Pokemon. I'm not quite sure what the jokes are that are happening in chat right now. I take it Bidoof is just the Pokemon that people love to love. Okay, I posted the Praetor Secret Lair misprint in Discord. I'm confused. It's a Viscera Seer that was just printed backwards? And it came in the Praetor Secret Lair? Bidoof is the Stormcrow of the Pokemon series. That makes sense. That's weird. Well, I just received my Phyrexian Secret Lair. I'll need to open that and see. That's pretty interesting. It gotta be worth some money, too. Viscera Seer's a playable card. Open it on stream? I could do that. Right now? Sure. Okay, I'll be right back. All right. This is Bidoof. He's very lovely and very kind. Well, he is very cute. I'll give him that. In PMD, it's theorized he caused the end of the world. He's too cute. Nobody wanted to go out and do anything. They just stopped working and the world stopped turning. Okay, so I have two. I got a foil and a non-foil. Secret Lair. I don't know how to do an ASMR, but I think I'm doing it right. Okay. So they changed the boxes. So they're a lot smaller now, which is great. Because it's less packaging. It's still a lot, but it's a little bit more eco-friendly. The large boxes weren't even great for holding cards anyway. I used them for commander decks, and they were exactly the wrong size to hold two double-sleeve decks. So... Sorry, my camera's not so good. Let's see if I can get this going. Okay. So we got L.S. Nord. She's very cool. The Phyrexians have a different crown. Like a different legend crown than other legendary creatures do. So that's interesting. And yeah. So I haven't done much studying of the Phyrexian language so far, but I'm probably gonna write this down along with what I know the card says. I can probably start trying to figure out what the different symbols mean myself, which is really exciting to me. Okay, so that's Elesh Norn. I pulled out the whole thing. On the back we have the Phyrexian Swamp from Jumpstart. I think the differently crowned frame is available in MSE. I think I have seen it there. And yes, Elesh Norn's the one we knew the translation for originally. Yeah, because she was a Judge promo several years ago. So she's the one that we had. Like I said, though, even though I knew that was a thing, I hadn't actually studied it myself. But now I really want to, so. I'm trying to pull it apart without actually damaging any of the cards, because there's, some glue on here. Okay. So, there's nothing else in this packet with the swamp, so no Viscera Seer there. And then hopefully, we might have something cool in here. Okay, so then next up we have, oh my gosh, this is too green. There we go, there's Jin-Gitaxias, Core Augur. I know, I'm sorry, my lighting and camera isn't really that good, so I know it's hard for you to see it, but I know my green screen is kind of letting you see through the card, so I'm sorry. But he does look really, really cool in person. Here's Shieldred, the Whispering One. Just wait until you get a green card. Yeah, Vorinclex is invisible. There is no official documented source on Phyrexian outside WotC's resources. What appears on the cards is all the canon Phyrexian we know, plus one lore insert tied to the swamp from when Jumpstart was previewing. Interesting. Urbresk, the Hidden. Oh, want to see something cursed about Shieldred? Probably not. But yeah. And yes, Vorinclex is kind of invisible. I can probably take off my green screen for a minute so you can see him. Let's edit filter. Oop, wrong way. There we go. There he is. Devoid on green screen. Yeah, so, okay, so those are my non-foil ones. There was no misprinted Viscera Seer in there. One more. You might need to get a refund. All these cards have holes in the space-time continuum in them. Isn't that... Aren't, like, time-space continuum hole misprints, like, really valuable? Can I just, like... I could get a refund, keep the cards, though, and then just sell them to a misprint collector. Okay. Then we have the foil one, which is same deal. LS Norn on front, but this time she's shiny. Same foil swamp on the back. With Bidoof sitting there, it occurs to me that I don't have a favorite Pokemon. Oh, you need to get one. I don't even play those games, and I have a favorite Pokemon. Ooh. Got a small swath of favorites you can never pick between. That's fair. Jolteon. Minus Charizard. I'm basic, I know, but so there's the LS Norn. Oh, there's Jynxtexius. You got a Shieldred. Overrated Fire Lizard, a common one. Yeah, I know it. They really are. I was very happy, and they were very, like, reasonably priced for, you know, being all 5 of the Praetors. So I definitely had to get some. And this Vorinclex. Good thing overrated Fire Lizard is typically bad in the TCG and highly collectible. Yeah, if he's bad in the TCG, I should be able to get, like, an original one for cheap. Pretty cheap, right? So, I do not appear to have a Viscera Seer misprint, which is too bad. But on the plus side, I do have a bunch of new Praetors, so that's pretty cool. I know. I was joking because I know that, like, the original Charizard is, like, isn't that the most valuable Pokemon card? Sort of like the Black Lotus of Magic. Okay. So, yeah. This was a pretty good Secret Lair. I'm pretty happy with it. Pokemon TCG has been kind of a lot more of a T than G lately from what I've seen. You know, it always confused me that they have multiple cards with the exact same name, you know? They'll just remake a Pokemon, give it a new card, but not a new name. And it's like, how do you differentiate between them? And this is speaking as somebody who played the game like a tiny bit in high school, and that's it. But... so I could be definitely way off base here. Seems about the right level. Yeah, and the same name rule applies across mechanically unique copies. So, like, you could have... I forget what the rule is. Like, if there's a limit on the type of card name you can have, I think it's 3. You could only have 3 of any Charizard in your deck, even if they're all different. I mean, it's like how in the actual games, Pokemon you catch are slightly different from one another. That's fair. I just feel like for purposes of trying to keep track from a real-world perspective, trying to keep track of which cards are which, it'd be like, you know, you're talking about your favorite, you know, Garbodor, you know, and people are like, which Garbodor? Oh, the one from this set. I don't know. I'm sure it works, you know? It's still a popular game all these years later. Just nickname your cards. Yeah, only works if everybody nicknames their cards the same thing, though. Actually, let's just leave Bidoof up there. There are now essentially meld cards that require 4 cards in total to use, though. So it's almost like Exodia. Emotional support Bidoof. Yeah, he can be our new mascot. Once we get fancy and start doing like stream subscriptions and, you know, somebody will subscribe and this guy will come up and he'll be all cute and he'll run around and there'll be like a little jingle sound. He'll be like, hey, thanks for subscribing. What's your name? This is 13 months. I don't know. I don't really know how to be a Twitcher. Like when a Pokemon player wants to specify, they say, I'm playing 2 Garbotoxin Garbodor, but my Trubbish line is split between 1 from Noble Victories and 1 from Dragon Ascent. I wanted access to the higher HP copy and have 1 with Tool Drop just in case. Okay, so it is literally just saying which set it's from. That seems like the main way to do it. I don't know. It works, it just feels like a lot of... I don't know. I guess like we have, you know, 1,200 copies, different versions of Jace. Do you remember his title on all of them? Or do you just say the one from Ixalan? Or the one from M14, you know? So I guess we have that to some extent in Magic. Baby Jace. Yeah, there's probably, common nicknames. Oh, you're a fan of Jace, name every version of him. You know, I do remember Cunning Castaway's the Ixalan version. I remember the art on the M14 version, but I can't remember the name. It's the one that, like, mills 10 for a 0 activation. That's pretty good. But the good one. Less ironically, that is why nicknames exist. Yeah, that makes sense. Can you name the Planeswalker deck Jace's 2? Absolutely not. I cannot name pretty much any Planeswalker deck Planeswalker. I just put them out of my head. Because I knew I wasn't going to buy the Planeswalker decks. I knew I wasn't going to encounter those Planeswalkers in the wild. There was no reason to learn anything about them. Memory Adept. That's the right one. That's the M14 one. I think so. It may have been in an earlier course. I think it was in 2 core sets, and I can't remember which ones. It was M14. And M12 and M13. Okay, so I was right. Labman Jace. Yeah, that's the one from War of the Spark. I don't remember his title. You say that, but the Planeswalker deck Planeswalkers are the only way anyone can play with an Oko now. That's funny. It's legally Commander, right? Okay, this seems fine. Actually, I guess this is kind of repetitive with the... Yeah, this one kind of does the same thing as the Aura. Not that one. this one. +2/+2 to another creature, and it has undercover. It's not quite the same, but we could probably stand to change this one. We're only taking a break from the Gatewatch. I mean, we're not even really taking that much of a break from the Gatewatch. The current story, sure, Arlen's not a part of the Gatewatch, but the Midnight Hunt story also had Kaya, Chandra, and Teferi. Those three are part of the Gatewatch. I kind of like that now they've sort of grown the group to a size where we can focus on a group of them and then change it up later. So I like that they've moved away from their original idea of the main 5 in the Gatewatch. They are always going to have a card in Standard. You know, they're going to be around that often. So I definitely didn't like where they were for a while when it was just all these same characters over and over and over. I wanted to change it up. I think we're at a good spot now, and I did really like the Midnight Hunt story. So, well, Jace and Nissa are on Zendikar. Okay, that's cool. I actually haven't been paying that much attention. I didn't know that's where they were, but that makes sense. They definitely should have listened to Cat Dad, though. Yeah, it was also real weird that Ajani joined the Gatewatch in Aether Revolt and immediately disappeared. Well, he didn't. He told them what he was doing and that they should wait, and then they didn't. So then he joined the Gatewatch and had nothing to do for the next 2 blocks. It didn't feel like there was any significance to his joining the group. So if this isn't going to pump a creature, we need to give it something else. It could just be like straight up life gain. I don't think we have much life gain. That's probably not bad. Then we can give it like a better stat line. No lifelink. We're not getting that weird. Or haste. Oh, technically green can do haste secondarily now. It's not something we've just been seeing on common creatures, though. That's because there wasn't any significance to his joining the group. Yeah, there just should have been. Flash. Yeah. So I like Flash. I worry that it's a little complicated with Undercover. I think people will assume that since Flash means you can cast this spell as though anytime you can cast an instant, and you may cast this as a face-down creature for 3, I think they'll assume that you can Undercover it at Flash speed, which is not the case. Yeah. Now, I know there were some people who didn't think that was too complicated, so if enough people feel that way, we can go ahead with it anyway. I personally feel like that's not an interaction I would want. But that's just one person's opinion. I think the N and B set skeleton says green can have 1 green haste common. Okay. Oops. Where'd we go? This isn't a force mage anymore, but... You could always make the reminder text say you may cast this face down as a sorcery. That's a reasonable suggestion, Isdriel. But now this is similar to the red common. Yeah, let me check and see. I felt like it was. This is exactly the red common. Okay. Glad we're on the same page. Green gets exactly 1 haste at common. Okay. Probably fewer, you know, 0 haste is also okay, because I'm pretty sure that they've still been doing that. But yes, up to 1 haste sounds good to me. And I'm okay with doing it, but we do have the red card that's exactly the same. Okay, so Sorcerer's just dropping info on us that basically almost the entire Gatewatch has been in a recent set. All but a Johnny, I think. Maybe make it draw a card. They have been doing that lately. I mean, this makes it effectively the wolf from Kaldheim. I mean, not quite, but it's very similar. And that card was very good. This is effectively like 3 cards in one. If you undercover it, then play it later to draw a card. Maybe a Johnny will be in Kamigawa. I believe he has been there before, right? Yes, he is friends with Tamio. And we know that he spread Elspeth's story to her, like, storytelling circle while he was there. So that's a reasonable point, Cyber5. He might be there. Do we like this? We could also just make it like a 2/4 reach. Oops. Just a spider. We don't have a reach, do we? Oh, we do. We do have Arachnosaurus, so we don't need a reach. At 4. We can figure it out later if needed. Let's just start with gaining life. Could give different ETB. Actually, I'm going to need you to not. There we go. Yeah, we can do that for now. Change it later. You're happy with ETB draw. I'm just worried about it being too strong. Mario did say that green is getting cantrip draws on bigger creatures. Okay. I'm worried about it being too much card advantage, as it comes down as a small creature and then a big creature that draws you a card. Maybe on ETB it could put counters on things. That's not... or make tokens. I don't know about that. Hold on. Uro, is that you? Put a +1/+1 counter on. How about on another target creature you control? Okay, this seems fairer. Maybe lock it a little bit more to green. Just putting a land from hand into play is interesting, though. You could time the second cast for when you have an extra land in hand. Let it put the counter on itself, in my opinion. U control's just been added recently for Arena simplicity. Although, I had a game recently in Midnight Hunt where Timberland Guide, the fact that it was from an old set, so it says you could put a counter on any creature, was relevant because my opponent had the 3/3 first striker that gives something double strike. And I had a gold sun gold barrage. So I needed to get it up to 4 toughness to kill it. So that was a really fun interaction. What was that sloth thing? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Arbor Grazer, maybe? Arboreal Grazer. Yeah. So I do think like putting an extra land into play could be interesting. It tends to not be that useful in Limited, but it can be. I feel like it's less useful on a 4-drop creature. Yeah? Something like this, comma. Sure. It's not super likely to do much if you play this on turn 4. But I guess if you played as an undercover first, it's not necessarily likely to die immediately, so you may not be playing this on turn 4. But the later you go, the less likely you are to just have an extra land in hand. So it is just like an extra effect that isn't super relevant, but the undercover creatures are kind of good anyway in that they just give you extra bodies. How do we feel about this? I know the stat line's a little low. But, I don't know. Undercover adds some value. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to gauge how strong that is. If there's any way to tutor for lands, this is pretty good into late game. Okay, yeah, let's keep it then. People seem pretty on board for it. Beast seems fine. Or like an ox or something. Is there a case file with landfall triggers? Let me look it up. Not currently. Although we are definitely open to it. Isn't there a card that looks at the top X and puts something to hand as well? That grabs lands. Yes, it does. It is Commune with the Unnatural. Actually, currently, because this is based on Commune with the Natural, which does not grab lands, this does not grab lands either. That said, this is just kind of a joke. While I like the joke, we got to do what's right for the set. So, if we want to grab lands with this, we can do that. Think Boar would be good? Okay. Sorry, I missed that the first time you suggested it. He's a secret pig. Yeah. Oink, oink. I mean, how do you do, fellow human? Okay, so this one seems alright. Goats graze a lot. It's true. In Magic, goats tend... Well, I think most goats tend to be 0/1 tokens. Not all of them. Oh, here's a goat beast that's a 4/6. Dang. Oh, it seems like there's some bigger goats. Maybe I'm just wrong. Yeah, okay. Could be a goat. They also tend to be white, not green. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple green ones, though, so you're not wrong. Okay, so... we could stick with non-human. That would be a lot broader, but we could also go with mutant. Because this is a lot worse as just mutants. That said, you are digging 5 cards deep for a land or a creature. That's pretty far. This one is 3 mana to reveal a creature, any creature or land, put it into your hand. So for 1 mana, you get a land or creature. So for 1 mana, digging 5 cards deep, land or... I don't know. Do we have enough width for green-white now? I mean, I think we might. So part of the width in green-white comes from the fact that you've got these just extra creatures from undercover. Because you get to play an extra card and trade off with it, and then you can play it again, and that leaves you with a creature on board. And then white tends to give you tokens. So I think between undercover and the construct tokens, we're probably okay. What's the dinosaur one? I remember that one being good. The dinosaur one is... Well, currently we have 2 dinosaurs. There's a mutant that is half giant spider, or archway spider? Anyhow, 3/5 with reach, or 5/4 with trample. And then we also have an undercover, which is a 7/6 for 6. We probably do want some token generation, though. That's also should remove the insect tag from that one. Insect tag. Ah, thank you. I missed that. No, oh, the dinosaur commune card. I see. Yeah. I don't think it is called Commune with Dinosaurs, is it? Oh, it is. Oh. 5 cards gives you a dinosaur or land. Okay, so we have precedent for relevant creature type or land if you're digging 5 cards deep. Okay, so it's may reveal a mutant or land card from among them. Cool. I only know that because I made a Commune with Aliens card for aliens. Ooh. We do need some aliens in this set. Okay, so seems okay. Black green slower, so it can afford to take its time finding lands. Probably is a decent splash color pair. And of course, green blue. Are Phyrexians considered aliens? I mean, some of them kind of look like the chest bursters, right? Or the xenomorphs? Yeah. I remember it because I got 3 Galtist from Jumpstart. Yeah, well, the original ones aren't even Phyrexian according to the type line, so maybe let's just dispense with the idea that the type line matters, okay? I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. Those were oracled. Yeah, which I like. I just wish that they'd chosen to do it sooner. I know a lot of those things you can't know, but like whether it's going to be worth changing them or not. Oh, I thought we were talking about Eldrazi. Oh, gotcha. I specifically mentioned the Praetors. Okay, so this one's fine. This one's okay for now. Change? Fine. 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 Seems strangely squished for some reason. Did I put a chop on it? I put a font cap on the previous version. Okay. Blank. Fine. 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 We did not like this one. So we still have like 2 green creature, a green creature and a green card that could be a creature or not that we need to change. The Phyrexians built the pyramids. Seriously, man? Who else could have done it? Give me one explanation. You can't. Okay, so at 4 mana, we have a 2/4 Undercover. And that's it. Capital artifact. Okay. Obviously, 0/1 for 4 is not a good rate. Maybe as a 3/2. This ability only activates once each turn. Oh, repeatable token creation at common? If it's fairly costed, it might be okay. It has been done before. I'm just trying to think of an instance. I believe you that it has. I'm trying to figure out when, though. Maybe Kaladesh? Okay, not Kaladesh. Spore Mound. Thank you very much. Yes, that was in a core set. The once per turn clause is a pretty hot button topic right now. Yeah, they've been doing it a lot lately. I understand why. And it's because a lot of those whenever triggers have the potential to do infinite broken combo-y type stuff. So they're probably just trying to stop them from being infinite combos, which I understand. But it does make the cards a lot weaker, even like when you're not trying to break them. Also, Overgrown Armor Star, that's whenever it takes damage. Yes. Granted, I would say things like the Great Henge kind of started it. Well, the Great Henge is just a bad design. I am enraged by that card. I would love if they had never printed it. Big issue is it feels like they're using it as an excuse to not test effects. Because if it can only happen once per turn, it's probably fine, right? Although Israel says the once per turn is because they did test effects. I think you're right. The landfall trigger here is safe. But both of those examples you gave me are double green. So I think we just play it safe with that. Does that seem okay? Yeah. Commander Legends is like a more of a higher power set, so I wouldn't say it being at common is precedent there, but it was also in M14. So those were both 5-drops. Oops. Wherever, whatever. Yeah, so these are both 5-drops. Ours is a 4-drop, so I think 3/2 is probably fine. Does plant make sense? I don't think it does. Yeah, ninja mech. Make this an artifact creature itself for maximum irony. We can make it an artifact creature if we want to. Oh, an artifact plant. Okay, there you go. The flavor is, it is an artifact plant, which we can do sort of weird flavor stuff on this world, and its seeds grow little 1/1s. Reminder that M14 was a much slower format, and green was the worst color in it. I did not draft many core sets back then, so I guess I still don't. So I did not know that. Something cedar. It's a plastic plant. Mono blue was unironically the best thing to draft in M14. Mono blue. This is like that plastic tree thing from the animated Lorax movie. Scrap cedar? Scrap cedar. Sorry. Metal trees in media don't really throw me off anymore. Good. Scrapctus. Watch too much anime. Among other media. Photosynthesis. Oh. That's pretty fun. I like that a lot. Translating to other languages is going to be a problem. No, spell it out like the old flavor text. Okay. It's way funnier. Okay. I kind of like where we ended with this design. It's pretty cool. It feels weird. Yeah, I agree with you, sorcerers. This is also becoming one of my favorite commons. Day is night in New York City. Smoke like water runs inside. Steel idle trees to pity every living thing that's died. Is that poetry? Song lyrics? Cool. I'm happy with this. So that means we just have one green card left that we're not happy with. I guess we could change the naturalize if we want to. The way they've made some more fancy naturalizes. Just plain old regular naturalize isn't looking so good no more. Gonna hitch a ride by Boston. Okay. Maybe something to pump wide creatures to. Yeah, Mars, I think it's just one of my favorite like flavors in the set for commons, you know. I feel like we're making a bunch of cards that do stuff but don't feel, you know, they don't have a lot of flavor yet. So I really like that. Okay, what can we do that pumps creatures going wide? +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's got to be a card, right? Oops. It's a green uncommon from forever ago. Pretty sure it's a shared green and white thing. Definitely feels like it could be. It might be an uncommon. Or, I mean, it's a thing you can probably do. Yeah, Strength of the Pack, yeah. 2 of them for 6 mana. I feel like 4 mana sorcery speed could be fine. I guess that's what this one is. But I think this would be fine at common nowadays, honestly. What about 2 +1/+1 counters? Oh, hey, Wind. I didn't even realize that was you there. How you doing? Could do a Caustic Caterpillar type card for the Naturalize. Undercover if you want to use it later. That's not bad. We could, like... We can put another creature in. I'm not, you know... So, that would be cool. There is sorcerers kind of like you're suggesting. Since when did green not want creatures? Sorry, I'm just talking about the number in our set. We have 1 open slot that, or well, I guess that's what we're working on right now. We have 11 creatures and 6 non-creatures. 7, I guess, with the artifact. So our open slot could be creature or not creature, is what I was saying. You just had an awful idea. Okay, what would that be? No, just a creature. Is Caustic Caterpillar a 0/1? One. Okay, what about just put the effects on creatures? Oh, a set without instants and sorceries. Just put the effects on creatures. I mean, you could make that work. There are mechanics that kind of do that. Isn't that Legions? Yes. Legions did do that. I don't think it was considered much of a success as a set, but it was a set with 100% creatures. Or could you do a Sundering Growth? That was a common, right? It is a common. We would have to like word it as create a 1/1. You know, yeah, obviously can't be a reprint. Yeah. So if we wanted it to not be a creature, it could be destroy target artifact or enchantment. Create a 1/1 colorless. I need to put a shortcut in for this. Construct artifact creature token. And then obviously not a... Inversely, I was also planning an all instant or sorcery set too. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have a lot of creature tokens that cards create, right? And, oh, let me guess, you had Spell Morph in there. I guess this is kind of similar to what we had before, but better. I was actually going to have an ability that let you resolve your spells as creatures afterward. Let me see if I ever mocked anything up. Yes. Or did we do that in here already? I feel like we did that in here. We did. I knew the name from somewhere. Reallocate. Or maybe 2 green instant. 2 and a green for an instant. Sure. Actually, yeah, that seems... I like that. In fact, I think I mentioned Splice onto Creature for this set. Oh, yes, MacMoose. We are keeping... Yeah, we have a Splice onto Creature in the case files, and that's one of the ones that I really want to keep. Because I like the design of it quite a bit. Not sure how I feel about this design, but I'll think about it, see if I have any other ideas. Okay. With that... I think... even if we don't want to stick with these... Yeah, it works. We can go with it. MacMoose is talking about this one. Dislikes that you must have a target. Embody, if you cast this spell for its embody cost, put it onto the battlefield as an elemental creature as it resolves. That's all I had, not a card, just the raw mechanic. That's kind of cool. I had a mechanic for a set that I mean I never actually. It was just an idea in my head. That was just like sort of like investigate or populate. It's just an action that's tacked onto a spell, and so like a lot of spells in the set would have this name mechanic that just basically is create a 1/1. And then there would be a lot of ways to combine the spells with the 1/1s to do cool stuff. Hype new Rex Sage. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yep, worse than Rex Sage in that you absolutely must have a target for it, but better in that it's instant speed. So, yeah, I guess you could flash. You could use this as a flash blocker and destroy like an artifact creature that's attacking. That's kind of cool, but seems fine. This one seems okay as well. I think it's perfectly acceptable at common. And even if we don't want to go with this, I do need to wrap it up for the night. So I'm just going to put this down here. And sorry, that's the name it gets. So, pretty happy with the work we did today. Most of our green commons are looking at least, we're at least happy with them. And then some of them are looking really spicy. I'm really happy. I know this is just kind of a boring card. But I really like it as just the Garth payoff, or the Garth card. It's just a fine attacker. Really love this card. Doesn't have to be called Scrap Cedar. If you guys come up with other names for it, or anything, you know, certainly. I'm just putting stuff on stuff. So, oh yeah, we did put Dauntless on a creature. That's good, so it can't be blocked by small things. Flavor text has to stay for it, though. Okay. Yeah, definitely got to keep the flavor text. Yeah, we got some cool designs. So I know I didn't go over them and say like which archetypes they're all good in. We didn't quite get to that, but yeah, I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. So thank you all so much for coming. I had a good time tonight. I know we didn't completely stay on task, but when do we ever? I really enjoyed just like sort of opening my secret lair on stream and talking about video games and stuff. So really appreciate you all coming and helping out. Everybody have a great night, or, you know, whatever time it is, wherever you are. So hope to see you again on